Welcome to the Podski. What? Ooh, yeah.
You understand, baby?
Dig it?
Let me tell you another thing.
First name John, last name Baker. Uh-huh. Brother. Hello and welcome into another episode of the Podski. I am your host, the man of 1,000 gimmicks, John Baker, and today is another top 10 with AZ Jarhead. Really fired up for this. We are doing our top 10 greatest tag teams of the 1990s, and that will obviously be any tag team that wrestled, was formed, won a title, all of that from the years of 1990 to 1999. Really fired up for it. I absolutely love our list. We also have some bonuses thrown in there as well. Our lists are going to expand the 10, and very excited for you to listen. Hopefully you checked out last week's episode of the Podski. It was the 11 minutes documentary review with Allison. It's not always going to be like that. We do like to do, I really enjoyed that because it was something completely different from the Podski. We like to keep things loose and fun here. And, there's obviously going to be some times, where I'm going to do some more serious topics, and hopefully you enjoyed that episode. We're going to have more documentary stuff with Allison. Very excited for that. Hopefully you're checking out That's So Dolphins Talk. The Dolphins are a very poor subject with me and Trigger Trey right now. Obviously, we started off 3-0, and now we're 3-2, and there's just doesn't seem to be a lot of hope. And also my Braves lost today to the Phillies, so my sports are absolutely sucking right now, but we always got professional wrestling to bring us up, and that's what we're going to do today here on the Podski. We are bringing AZ Jarhead back in, and he is going to also discuss our Halloween Super Show and what that is and when it'll be and all that jazz. So we'll let AZ tell us later in the show. And with that, we're going to get right into the top tag teams of the 1990s. Hello and welcome in to another episode of the Podski. We got AZ Jarhead. Welcome back in for another top 10.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Very happy to be here. As always, my pronouns are Heart Savage, so that's what we're gonna lead with. But I gotta give you an update here, Baker. There's gonna be a little bit of a gimmick change, so I'm gonna get rid of the AZ Jarhead moniker is gonna be put to rest. Just like, do you remember the greatest segment in WWF history in the parking lot between One Man Gang and Akeem?
No.
Well, look, man, that's what it is. I just want to be honest with everybody. My real name is Justin Andretti. All my friends call me Trouble River. So that's kind of what we're going to go with as of right now.
Well, let's give it up for Justin Andretti.
That's right. Man. Six foot high and rising, baby.
And my
right,
pronoun.
just like the Springsteen song, man. In case you never heard that, the deep cut, Trouble River. That's what it is.
Yes. I love it. I love Justin Andretti. So now we have full gimmick change, man of two gimmicks, AZ Jarhead and Justin Andretti.
That's right.
And so today, what we're doing is our top 10 tag teams of the 1990s, and my list is I didn't go for the deep cuts this time. I kind of just went for whatever tickled my fancy, basically. What did you do with your list?
Before we even get into that, man, I'm afraid I've got some news here.
Oh God.
It's going to directly impact the financial livelihood of both you and Allison. So, I want you to go ahead and open up that email I sent you. And I want to let you know here, Baker, I've gone into business for myself here a little bit. So I'm going to introduce a new segment on your podcast.
Hold on a second.
So go ahead and pull that open. So, here's the thing, man. We, as most fans, we like to do a little fantasy booking, right? So as owner of the HSW, which is Hot Seat Wrestling, I've decided to go ahead and hire you as the head booker. So when you pull that email open, you're going to see 2 links in there, and I want you to click on both of those links and get them open for me.
Yep, they are open.
Okay, so on that first link there, it should go to a random number generator.
Yep.
Okay, and the other one should go to a Google sheet that has about 100 names on it.
Yep.
Okay, you got it?
Yep.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go first here, to make it a little easier. So on that random number generator, okay, I want you to set the top number to 2, because there's a category at the top on the top row.
That is the lower limit, and the upper
lower limit is going to be 2. Upper limit is going to be 4.
Perfect.
Okay. And then go ahead and hit the random number and tell me what I got.
Random number is 3.
Okay, so I got 3, which means I got book a feud. Okay. So now I want you to set the lower number to 2, set the higher number to 101. And give me the 2 numbers.
87.
Okay, 87. What do we got with 87? We've got Yokozuna. Okay, that's a good one to start with.
And 79.
79. Okay. Oh my. Okay. So we got Yoko and Scott Flash Norton. Okay. Well, obviously we've got 2 really big guys here, right? And we've got 2 guys who are really strong, really agile guys. And I think maybe having both of them in the same promotion at the same time, there's an easy built-in feud there about, which guy really is the big agile strong guy. And the thing that's cool about it too is you can kind of work this in where Yokozuna is, from the Orient. He's supposedly from Japan, right? And Scott Norton obviously has worked a lot in Japan. So maybe we can do a feud here where it's like, who's the real king of Japan, right? So I think the feud could be something like that, where we're trying to figure out who's really the strongest guy, the most agile big man that runs the whole island. I think that would be a pretty good feud for a pay-per-view.
I think that definitely works.
Okay, now it's your turn, bud. So let's see what we got here. Hold on, I gotta pull the number generator up here. So lower limit 2, upper limit 4. All right, Baker, you got 3. So you also got book a feud. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see what you got here for the 2 guys. Okay, you got 99. Let's see oh my God, dude! You got. I swear.
99.
I swear. I swear, Baker. I swear to God, this is. I'm telling you the honest to God truth. This is. I did not set that up. I swear to you. So you got Dan Barry.
Let's go.
Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. You got Dan Barry and Hercules. What do you got, man? What do you got?
Well, it's very obvious that this is going to be the David versus Goliath, and you put Dan Barry, over.
Yeah,
all day, 100%.
I think so too. Yeah, I love it, dude. I love
irresistible force meets the immovable object.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I wanted to set this up with too is that you always get the superstar in their peak condition. Okay, so it can be whatever you want it to be. It can be like, Dan Barry of right now, where he's on top of the world, like he is, or he can be Dan Barry from 10 years ago, where he's just climbing the ranks.
I love it. It has to be Dan Barry now. 3 Doors Dan.
I love it. That was pretty good. That was a pretty good opening for Hot Seat Wrestling. I thought that went pretty well.
Hot Seat Wrestling has a place on the Podski forever. That was incredible.
Okay, so what I did with my teams is I just, I love branded tag teams, which right? And I always kind of want to go with some of the stuff that's off the radar a little bit. I think it's really easy to throw out some of the names, right? That everybody kind of knows, but we want to explore a lot of different characters that have been in this industry over the past 100 years, 50 years, whatever it is for everybody. But I don't go after low hanging fruit, like some other people on this podcast. I try to go after a little more deeper cuts. What do you? Okay, so you want me to go?
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that was awesome. What? I don't even know how we segue.
Just hey, man, you just jump right in, man. You just jump right in the ring, like you're starting the show with a hot cruiserweight match.
Yeah, I'm gonna run in just like I'm in the Royal Rumble. My number 10 is Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 Kid.
Okay.
And I got that. So from when we talked about this last time in our previous countdown or top 10, I said I needed to watch more New Generation, and I started it, and I started watching from the very first Raw, and I am now at Royal Rumble 94. And right before Royal Rumble 94 at the Raw anniversary show, they have the Quebecers, who are the tag team champions at the time. They face Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 Kid, and they have a match where Jannetty and 1-2-3 Kid get the upset, and they are only tag champions for a week. They lose it on Superstars that following Saturday, but I had to throw them on this list because it was so compelling and captivating, and just seeing like both of their buildups, because Jannetty was like literally in a free fall, or like not a free fall, but he just like really didn't have a place on the roster. And 1-2-3 Kid was climbing the ranks very, very fast within WWF at the time. And I thought it was a weird mashup of characters that worked for 1 week. So that is my number 10.
All right, I love it. I mean, look, man, I watched some of the Rockers last night and even today too, and it's just every time I watch them, obviously Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest of all time, but Jannetty was so good, man. He was really, really talented in the ring. Just probably didn't have the charisma to really get over, in that company as a singles guy. But man, what a talented superstar he really is.
Full of Jamaican jealousy.
Yeah, don't go anywhere near a river with him, but I think other than that, he's probably a pretty good dude to hang out with.
Who is your number 10?
Okay, I've got a tie at number 10. Okay, so
here we go.
So my first team at number 10 is going to be Stars and Stripes. I'm a huge Patriot mark, man. Former South Carolina Gamecock O-line great. Del Wilkes. We gotta get that elite, dude. We got to get the elite. I mean, that guy, a big guy that can move really well. Bagwell, obviously, such high hopes for him early on. Great charisma for a young guy, right? I mean, super athletic. Pretty smooth. This is a fun team to watch, man. I wish they would have lasted a little bit longer. The matches. I think the Havoc '94 match versus Pretty Wonderful is good. And then about 2 weeks after that, they wrestled again. Where Stars and Stripes actually won the belt. So that's a good match. The Havoc '94 match is good for Stars and Stripes. So then do you have anything to say about them, or do you want me to just jump into the next team?
I will. Nope, I got nothing on them. Other than didn't Del, or is it Dale Wilkes or Del Wilkes? I feel like Del.
Yeah, I think it's Del.
Okay, he just got into a huge fight, I think, in the last year with, I think it was with Ryder and Hawkins on Twitter for some signing or something like that, or there was Patriot heat. I remember that.
I have no idea.
That's all I got for that team.
All right, my second team at number 10 is Furnas and LaFawn, the Can-Am Express. So I've got, I'm a big Doug Furnas mark. I love the dude in Smoky Mountain. He played football at Tennessee. We all, everybody knows that. Phil LaFawn changed his name, when he got into the WWE there, in the 90s. But that's a guy that trained in the Heart Dungeon. I mean, they had their best success in Japan. They had some really, really great matches, man. And they're both on Daily Motion. So the All Japan show, Superpower Series '92. Versus Kobashi and Kikuchi. That's a 5-star match, man. And I think it was a 5-star match in the Observer too. I watched that again today. I mean, super physical, man. The crowd is so hot. It's one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. It might be the best tag team match I've ever seen. But there's another one on there from Superpower Series '89, which is also on Daily Motion, versus the British Bulldogs, which is really good. But I would say that the Power Series '92 versus Kikuchi Kobayashi is a match everybody's got to watch, man. I mean, it's just, it'll blow you away. And I think, they in America, their best match, they took on Owen and the Bulldog at In Your House 13, which is the final four in your house is what it's called. But they were in the WWF for about a year, but they tagged together for about 10 years, 2 years. Those are two really, really good technical, physical guys that are kind of off everybody's radar in the US for the most part. So those are definitely matches I would go out of your way to check out.
Awesome. So moving on to number 9, I have the American Males.
Love it.
And I have the American Males because one, their theme song is top notch. American Males. Like it's so fucking good. I love that theme song. And you had just mentioned Bagwell. Bagwell was a part of the American Males with Scotty Riggs, and they're in WCW. Not a very long run, I don't believe. They wanted to get Bagwell up and running, and then he ended up getting into the NWO and all that deal. But if you just pair like the names together of Marcus Buff Bagwell and Scotty Riggs, like how awesome of a name is Scotty fucking Riggs? Like
right.
That is such a great name. I'm jealous of that name. And,
Baker, you might remember Scotty Riggs from the Long Island trip when I bought the WCW Matchbox car.
Yeah.
That was the crown jewel of the whole trip, man. That was awesome.
There really was. Well, aside from Dan Barry as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I just remember because I started watching the Nitros and I tried to watch some Saturday night stuff. And I always loved American Males. And if you ever listen to Shivani, he always talked about the American Males and just all the time. You always hear good things about both of them. And it seems like Bagwell has started to get his feet back from where he was, because he was in a bad place and all that jazz. But yeah, always do like watching the American Males, and I can't even name like a match, which is sad, but I just always liked them for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That the theme song, unfortunately, is probably what they remember for the most right now. But it really is one of the greatest of all time. That theme song.
It really is. Who do you got at number 9?
Okay, I got a tie at number 9
again.
So I got the Impact Players at number 9. Okay, so Just Incredible, Lance Storm. These are two guys that had a lot of success as singles guys too, but they started to get tagging together in '99. But hey, that counts, man. You said all the '90s, so they started in '99. So here we are. But I think obviously Lance Storm, kind of one of those unsung heroes. He's a trainer now. We talked about him a little bit on the last show, but Just Incredible, obviously, really good. He's was kind of a next generation guy in ECW. Who took off, had a pretty decent run too, in the WWE in the early 2000s. But I think that a really good match of theirs to go check out is the ECW Guilty as Charged 2000 versus Raven and Dreamer, who also were a pretty good tag team too. But that match is great. I mean, it's a lot of fun. You got Don Marie and Francine are involved in that too, and they're scuffling, and there's obviously all the ECW shenanigans with that. But really fun match, good match. Those guys were awesome together.
I dig it. Who are they tied with?
Okay, so I have them tied with the Headbangers. I don't have a ton to say about the Headbangers. They're a tag team that's a lot of fun. They were kind of a great lead-in team to the Attitude Era in some ways. Former WWF champs, man. They don't really get much credit, but they were always a lot of fun to watch. Always unique. They won the vacant belts at In Your House Ground Zero. Then they lost in the next month at the Godwins at Bad Blood. But yeah, man, really really fun team to watch. Really unique and always kind of one of those teams that's been under the radar for a long time.
One thing I will add to the Headbangers is that a great friend of the show, Teddy Mongoose, got me a Headbangers beanie for Christmas one year.
Really?
And I believe that was a part of one of the crates, one of the pro wrestling crates.
Nice.
Yeah, great beanie and also a great guy.
Sometimes.
All right, moving on to number 8. My number 8, I have the Hollywood Blondes. How can you not like the Blondes? The Blondes are kind of seeing like where they were at the time and then see where they went. Like the characters that, I mean, we obviously all know that, Steve Austin and Pillman, and, Pillman went on to be like this really insane character that no one knew if he was working or if he was shooting or working half the time. And, he had the injury and all that jazz. And then you have Steve Austin, who was stunning Steve Austin at this time, who was a really, really great in-ring performer and just never could get over the hump. Kind of, they put the ceiling on him, and then he goes to WWF, becomes the ringmaster, and then Austin 316 happens, and then, he shoots the heights that nobody else has ever been in the business. So always like the Blondes, especially like the little gimmicks that they do with doing the movie reel, and they were just a really fun team. And it's a team that was never supposed to be together, because I believe that Austin's talked about this in his plethora of documentaries, but I'm pretty sure that he wanted to get a TV title run, or he was going to get an actual championship run, or something was going to happen. He was going to get some type of work in with a title, and they paired him with Pillman, and he was pissed about it. And Pillman was like, "Yeah, man, we're working together, like all this and that." And Austin was pissed, and it ended up working out, and they ended up becoming a really great team. Obviously, if you want to watch anything from the Hollywood Blondes, you should watch A Flair for the Old. That is, top-notch stuff. Their feud with the Horsemen and all that is great stuff in the early 90s. And you just can't say enough good things about both guys. It just sucks that the way that it ended for Pillman and what could have been in the business.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head. You can't say enough good stuff. I mean, Pillman obviously was unbelievable, and with the very short ECW run, and obviously as the crazy guy in the WWF. I mean, that unbelievable heel, man, just so good. Austin, I mean, I know we talked about this before, but the way that Austin is so different in the ring, and just with his character and everything between Stunning Steve and Stone Cold. I mean, just hats off to that guy, man, for being able to pull that off. I mean, it's really great. I mean, both those characters are a lot of fun for sure to watch.
Mm-hmm. So who do you got at number 8?
Okay, so I've got
do we have?
Oh
my god!
So I think you can't really talk about 90s tag teams without doing a little Cornette tribute, right? So the first. Yeah, exactly. So the first one I got here is Owen and Yokozuna, and I think the match to watch there is the WrestleMania 11 match where Yokozuna ends up being the mystery partner. I mean, man, he's just so great for being a big dude. He came back and he was even heavier than when he left. And he's still jumping around and doing his thing and being so agile. It's just two guys that work really well together here. And I don't, like I said, I don't really like tag teams where two singles guys are thrown together. I mean, hats off to the Smoking Guns, man, because they were really, really good. They did a great job right before the match in a little promo where, they're selling the concern because they just found out that Yokozuna is going to be the mystery partner. But it didn't go overboard with it, right? It was a little bit of a nice touch to show a little bit of concern on their parts, man. But the Smoking Guns are really good too. But Yoko and Owen held the belts for about half of 1995. Just fantastic together, man. They're both great, obviously, and they're just a really fun team to check out.
Yep, agree. Who are they tied with?
Okay, so sticking with Cornette here, the Heavenly Bodies is who I got them being tied up with. The version here, Dr. Tom and Jimmy Del Rey. They did the talent exchange in the WWF and Smoky Mountain, which I'm sure a lot of people remember them for that. The SummerSlam '93 match is great with them and the Steiners, and they're selling everything for the Steiners and getting thrown around and everything else, which is really awesome. The Survivor Series '93 match versus the Rock and Roll Express. a lot of people sitting on their hands during that match. They didn't really know what to make of it, but just a different style of wrestling than what the WWF fans were used to at that time. But that match was unbelievable. I mean, really fun to watch. There's times in that match where the fans really get into it, and then they kind of are a little quiet after that. But that's definitely a match to check out. These guys are 3-time Smoky Mountain champs. 1-time USWA tag team champs. Just they got so much swagger, man. They look like absolute creeps. Their gear is fantastic. I never realized until going back and watch those matches again just how agile Del Rey is, man. I mean, Jimmy Del Rey was a really agile guy in the ring, so it was a lot of fun going back and checking him out again.
Yeah, love it. And it kind of seemed like any tag team that Cornette was paired with was really, really good in the ring and just like understood tag team wrestling. And I'm sure that probably was instilled in them by, Cornette and everything like that. So, but yeah, love it. Moving on to number 7, I have the Steiner brothers.
Can't go wrong there.
Nope. And the Steiners, they've worked every promotion all across the place, everywhere. It doesn't matter. And they were always top guys, always, just the look. They always had the look and, real legitimate wrestlers from Michigan. Like, you just can't, what's not to like about the Steiners? And, obviously the one that really, really sticks out for the Steiners is Super Bowl 91 with Sting and Luger. That match is a really good match. Really just, I mean, there's really not much more to say when you say Steiner brothers. You instantly think tag team wrestling.
It's just the physicality, man, especially the early days where they're throwing everybody around and doing amateur wrestling and everything else. I mean, those guys they're just freaks in the ring, man.
It's Scott, especially like a dude that big to be, doing Frankensteiners and all those moves that he used to do and just made it look that effortless. Like him throwing dudes over his head. And it looks like he's just, hucking a pillow over his head. That's how easy he makes it look. And yeah, both, especially Scott, just pure specimens. And
people don't realize too that in those early days, Rick Steiner was going to be probably a world champion, and they were really kind of pushing Rick as the guy who was going to be maybe taking over as a major babyface in NWA at that point. I mean, his early stuff is really good too. I mean, he's a little more trimmed down, a little more agile, but I mean, just a very strong guy that just goes after people in the ring, and it's just so much fun.
Love Rick. So moving on to your number 7, do we have another tie?
We do not. No more ties.
No.
I did consider making it a bit and doing a tie for all 10. Okay, so for my number 7, I've got the Beverly Brothers. And man, I am admittedly a very big Mike Enos mark for whatever reason, man. And he's just one of those lower mid-card guys that you just pop for every single time, man, when they come out, and you just accept them as one of your favorites for no real reason. You always end up rooting for him. I've always loved that guy for whatever reason. Obviously, Wayne Bloom, really talented guy too. I mean, he's the dad of the current NXT guy, Von Wagner, who is pretty good too. I mean, he's a pretty good guy too. But that's another team that tagged for 10 years, man, and they were together for a long time before they ever even got to the WWF. And they had a very big gimmick change when they got there and turned into two kind of spoiled brat, bleached blonde haired guys. But I mean, it's a shame that team never won the belts. I mean, they've got great presence, awesome colors. Their gear looks great. They're great heels, man. I don't know how the hell we didn't get Hasbros from them. I'm so pissed off about that to this day. But I mean, speaking of the Steiner brothers, I mean, the match that I had here for the Beverlys was the Rumble 93 match where they take on the Steiners. And that, I mean, there's a Frankensteiner at the end of that match. It looks like Scotty just put Mike Enos into a casket, man.
I mean, I just watched that.
And I was like, what the hell is happening? I watched that last night And I'm like, that guy's dead. There's no way that guy. And he got up. He looked a little groggy, but I mean, look, they were in WCW too, and they were kind of like Saturday night guys, kind of lower mid card tag team guys there. But they were AWA tag team champs at 1.2. But really good in the ring. They were great for what they did. So a lot of good stuff there with the Beverlys.
I love it. Yeah, I did just watch that Rumble 93 match last week, and I popped huge for it because I was like, that guy is dead. And but yeah, moving on. So my number 6 is from that same era. I got the Smoking Guns, and they wouldn't have made my list if I haven't been watching New Gen recently. But yeah, like just watching them on like as they're debuting in '93 with the vignettes, they are so awesome. Like they are clearly not like, good God, like 17 motorcycles just went by my house right there.
Maybe they're heading to Hog Wild.
maybe we should head out there. But yeah, Smoking Guns, like just watching their vignettes as they're like setting up with the guns and everything. It's so corny, but it's so awesome. And I fell in love with it from the very first vignette. Loved them. Couldn't wait to see them. And obviously Billy sticks out like a sore thumb because Billy is just like so incredibly jacked. And obviously Billy Gunn went on to be in DX and New Age Outlaws, all that. And, still going today with Scissor Me Daddy. And like just Billy is awesome. And the match obviously that sticks out for them is what you mentioned earlier with Yoko and Owen. But yeah, like just love the Smoking Guns. If you don't know who the Smoking Guns are, I feel bad for you because I felt bad for myself for not knowing enough about the Smoking Guns until just last week.
I think they're definitely one of those teams that when you go back and watch them now, you appreciate them a lot more now than what you did then at the time. But I going back, just like you said, going back and watch those matches again, I really thought they were pretty good together. That was a good tag team.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. Who was your number 6?
Okay, so for my number 6, we're doing a lot of Bagwell here, man. There's a lot of Bagwell on this show, but I got Vicious and Delicious at number 6. So Bagwell at this point is now in the NWO. He's a heel. The character is way too over the top. Even for me being a wrestling fan, the guy was annoying as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's fine in the ring. Whatever. He's still a pretty agile guy. Bagwell still has some heat with me over Cameo. Total clown show with that. Hey man, I hope you're sober. I hope it's not fake. I hope you got back on your feet here, man. But you owe me one with that Cameo because that was a pile of shit, and I'm gonna hold that against you for a long time. But look, man, I personally believe Bagwell was always way better as a tag team guy than what he was as a singles guy. I could just never really get into him with the singles feuds. That the guy was in a lot of really good tag teams and a lot of really memorable tag teams. He's the smaller guy that can move in the ring and do everything you need him to do. And really perform as the smaller guy. But obviously Scott Norton, as we already said at the beginning of the show, huge guy, big ass kicker. Love the guy. Now as a heel, totally believable in every way. Tough guy, heavyweight, always a threat no matter who he wrestled against. But just a really solid guy who was. Everybody feared him. Everybody feared him. The guy was just a big, strong guy that threw people around, and he was really great. So Vicious and Delicious was great. I wish it would have lasted a little longer than it did. The Road Wild match against Harlem Heat is pretty good. So if you're interested in checking out a match for them, I would go check that out. Man, what a weird show that was. I watched a lot of that last night. I didn't realize that they had the elevated ring, and it made sense because obviously the crowd is real flat, right? Everybody's looking at it from like eye level, right? There's no elevated seats, so you had to kind of elevate the ring so that everybody could see into the ring. But what was really strange about it was everybody walked to the ring through the dirt and through the rocks from the back, right? So even after the first match, there's just dirty footprints all over the mat, and I'm like. So can somebody not go in there and clean that like between the matches? Like it was really strange to see that. But
standard def, you would never see that.
And what's crazy too, man, is that when they elevated the ring, they put mats all the way around the top of the elevated part, underneath the ring, right? But there was no fence or anything. So if you got thrown out of the ring too hard, you could go like 15 feet. I mean, it
What
was really strange.
Was that what Road Wild is that?
I think it was the first one because I think it was the first Road Wild because I believe the first Sturgis event was Hog Wild. Then they changed.
Oh wow, baby!
Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's 2 Road Wilds and 1 Hog Wild. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
I can't remember, but yeah, it was the first Road Wild.
I don't remember Vicious and Delicious, so I think I'm thinking 99.
Yeah, it would have been earlier than that. It would have been like 97.
Really? Damn.
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
I don't know, man, but you got to go find it. They're pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and my number 5, I have the Hardy Boys. There's not much. I could talk all day about the Hardy Boys. I love the Hardy Boys. Complete innovators of high flying offense and just culture icons. Completely have everybody everyone that is a tag team now looks up to the Hardys. They ignited a whole generation for tag team wrestling, and they're just Matt with doing the actual in ring, like a lot of the technical work, and then Jeff doing all the high spots and the high flying with the swanton and all that. One thing I will say, one knock on them that I will say is that the Twist of Fate sucks and has to be the most reversed finishing move of all time, because it didn't, like, you probably see them put on a Twist of Fate at some point in a match and it got reversed 4 times before they actually did the actual move. And they're still going today whenever Jeff isn't getting arrested. But I mean, you have to love the Hardy Boys. You can't say anything bad about them, other than for the fact that they can never get their footing anymore because one of them is doing something really stupid.
I mean, I appreciate them for what they've contributed to the industry. Obviously, I know that they've inspired a ton of people over the years, but they're not really my cup of tea in terms of what I like in wrestling or in tag teams. But I mean, they're super athletic guys that have done a lot, and they're super innovative. So I definitely appreciate what they've brought to the table for sure.
So you don't like spot monkeys?
No, and I think my next pick is going to tell you exactly that.
All right, let's hear your number 5.
My number 5 is the Miracle Violence Connection. Do you have any idea who that is, Baker?
I have zero idea who that is.
Well, let me enlighten you here. So the Miracle Violence Connection, that's a name that was only used in Japan. I don't think they've ever used that name in the United States, but that is Dr. Death Steve Williams and Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Okay. Those are
okay.
Really, really good, believable guys. I mean, they're just 2 big ass kicker guys, man, who were so believable. I mean, Steve Williams got shit all over in the WWE, during that Brawl for All and all that goofy stuff. But yeah. I mean, this guy was just such a badass, man. Everywhere he was, I mean, they're just the physicality with these guys, man. I mean, Gordy, obviously a former Freebird, a big, super athletic, violent guy. I mean, what a tag team. I mean, Violence is right, man. These are 2 guys who look like they're going to kill somebody when they come out, right? And they look like they're going to kill somebody in the ring. I mean, that match, you got to go out of your way to find the match. The Clash of Champions 19, it was in 92. They've got a match with none other than the Steiner brothers, man. And it's just a lot of amateur wrestling, so much physicality, man. You've got 4 of the toughest guys in wrestling history that are in the ring together. I mean, they had just a million great matches in All Japan too. I mean, they're awesome. Those guys are really great.
Yeah. Especially when your name is Dr. Death Steve Williams, like, you obviously have to back that up. And really sad to see what happened to him in the Brawl for All situation.
We can say the same thing about Bart Gunn. I mean, we said, we talked about the Smoking Guns too. I mean, that Brawl for All, it ruined 2 guys. It ruined Bart Gunn and it ruined Dr. Death. I mean, look, man, I was thinking about this morning too, when I was kind of going over my notes for the show. Like, I just wonder if and I know they're under contract and all that kind of stuff, but I wonder if there was a case to be made there where, in a industry where presentation is so important, right? And everything is kind of concocted to make things look a certain way. Was there a case to be made there where those guys could have sued the booker or even sued the WWE based on how they were showcased? I only mean that because it was presented as a real thing. I mean, you're presenting this as a real thing in an industry that is built on secrecy, right? And built on everything just being made to look a certain way. I wonder if those guys didn't have a case. I mean, look, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but I just wonder if there could have been a lawsuit there that they just didn't pursue.
Yeah, that is something. Wow, that's a whole big bag of worms you just opened right there.
Look, man, I have no idea. I'm sure there's people listening to this that are lawyers or have some kind of background with that, but I'm thinking of it from a standpoint of everything that you're under contract and that you've agreed to do is set up to look a certain way, right? And then you add this element to it that totally is not that, and it completely destroyed your whole image and your whole reputation. I mean, that to me sounds like there's something there.
Yeah, that does. You're making a good case for it already. Maybe they should hire you.
I mean, Stephen P. New is the only guy I know that would take on that case. So I mean, maybe he's the guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Stephen P. New is the man for you. Okay, moving on to number 4. My number 4 is the APA, and this team they were formed again in the late 90s. They are the Acolyte Protection Agency, Farouk and Bradshaw, 2 legit badasses, believable dudes that, like, you see them, you know you're going to get your ass kicked. And, obviously I'm a huge Bradshaw, JBL mark, and I love this team. And the thing that sucks about them is that they're more well known for their backstage with the poker table and the door, and that they're more known for that than they actually are the in-ring product. But 2 legit badasses that just ooze believability in a time where it was the Attitude Era, where you needed believable tag teams, and they were for sure it. One thing that I really like about, obviously the backstage segments and everything, but when they had that brawl at the Friendly Tap, that was actually owned by referee Tim White.
Wow,
and yeah, so they basically shot that in Tim White's bar, and they tore the place all to hell, and Vince ended up paying for everything, and basically Tim got his whole entire bar renovated by Vince just because of that one segment.
I never heard that. That's awesome.
Yep, that was I did a little bit of research, and I watched a documentary on the APA today, and that was one of the things they talked about.
Tim White, one of the most unheralded heroes of wrestling, that never really gets much due either.
Yeah, wasn't he Timmy, wasn't he an Andre guy?
He was Andre's handler, basically.
That's what I thought.
Everywhere they traveled.
Yeah.
How'd you like that job?
No, absolutely not. That job had to be the worst job ever. No wonder he just went into just straight reffing. That had to be awful. And then his career got ended in that Hell in a Cell match with Triple H and Mankind. And that was unfortunate. But
he tried to kill himself 100 times.
Well, yeah. But yeah, I mean, APA, absolutely awesome team. And, because if you look at somebody like Simmons, who, he was the first African-American world champion at WCW, comes to WWF and has a fucking awful gimmick with that gladiator gimmick. Some would argue it's awesome.
I would argue that it's awesome.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm just doing it based off looks. And, he went into Nation of Domination, which Nation could be, somebody in this list as well as a really good team too. But always like Farouk, and obviously I'm a huge Bradshaw mark because JBL is the best.
Yeah, maybe one of these days one of us will get the form a tag team with the Hot Seat Wrestling, and we'll get Ron Simmons, and we'll get Killer Kross, and we can put together the Gladiator team.
Yes.
Yes. It was destined for greatness, the 2 of them.
What could have been. the greatest tag team of all time doesn't exist until now. But who you got at number 4?
Okay, so my number 4, I've got Pretty Wonderful at number 4. Obviously,
I for sure knew that they were going to be on the list. I didn't even that was the only team on here that I knew for sure was going to be on here.
Well, look, I had to seamlessly transition here from Bam Bam Gordy and Dr. Death to the Pretty Paul Roma. But look, man, all jokes aside, I am a big Paul Roma fan. And I'm just going to shoot at you here. This is going to be a shoot. I think that dude is legitimately talented. Do I want him as the Intercontinental Champion? No. Do I want him as a U.S. heavyweight? No. But in a tag team, man, especially with a vet, the dude is athletic as shit. He looks great. He's super cocky. He's good. And anyone who thinks otherwise, I mean, dude, look at him for what he is. Not everyone has to be Shawn Michaels, right? And people have places on a roster and fit a certain spot. The dude is super talented. He's so agile. Just shut up. If you don't like Paul Roma, shut up. You're an idiot. But look, Orndorff, we talked about him before, but obviously the guy, some of the best stuff I've ever seen in TV wrestling was those Saturday night main event matches, with him and the build up against Hogan and stuff like that. The dude is fantastic. He's one of my top 10 most underrated guys of all time. I love Paul Orndorff. I'm always going to love Paul Orndorff. Pretty wonderful 2-time WCW tag champs. Like I said, the Havoc '94 match with Stars and Stripes is really fun. Then they wrestled them again at Fall Brawl '94. But look, both those matches are really good. Those are really fun matches to check out. But I thought the Pretty Wonderful was awesome. I always liked him when I was a kid. I love him even more now going back. And it's just one of those things too, where everybody hates Paul Roma, so you end up just cheering for him even more. So if you don't like Paul Roma,
that's just only you.
Just people that don't like Paul Roma are just jerks.
All right, so we're down to our final 3, and man, I'm so pumped for my final 3. My final 3, at number 3, I'm kicking it off with Dudes with Attitudes. And there's nothing more to say. Dudes with Attitudes is bar none the greatest tag team name of all time. It's so perfect. And this was a tag team that obviously was put together because of the Clique, and they very short-lived for obvious reasons. All the gold, just draped in gold, the chaps with all the straps. You got Shawn Michaels, who arguably is one of the greatest in-ring performers of all time. I would put, I have Shawn in my top 2. And it fluctuates heavily all the time. And you have Diesel, who is Kevin Nash, and was still green and early in his run as a professional wrestler at this time. I would say definitely green at the top. And but it kind of, I had just seen a network thing on the Dudes with Attitudes last night, and this was kind of at the point where Shawn, really did all the work basically to get Diesel to the top. And then Shawn was like, well, shit, I did all this to put Diesel over, and I'm the one that brought Diesel along, and he's the champion, and I'm not the champion. I'm not getting anything from this. And this was kind of like after their whole the WrestleMania 11 match and all that deal, and they come together, and it's a great tag team that for obvious reasons couldn't have longevity they were tag champions, and it was short-lived, couldn't do it for obvious reasons, but rightfully deserve a place at the table for 90s tag teams, I feel.
I think again, I wasn't big fans of those guys at the time. I was always a Hart fan, always in the Hart corner, man, always. But that's another tag team, especially again, like I said, I don't really like when 2 singles guys are thrown together like that. Two established singles guys. I don't really like when Randy Orton's thrown together with like Matt Riddle. I don't care about that, right? But when I go back and see Diesel and Shawn Michaels together in that tag team, they were awesome. They were really good.
Who is number 3 on your list?
We're getting down to it here, Baker.
We are.
3. Number 3, we got the Faces of Fear. Another team of just 2 major ass kickers, man, who were always a threat. No matter how much they lost, either in singles matches or in tag matches, these guys were always a threat to everybody, man. I know Ming is another guy that I said was in my top 10 most underrated. Love him. Barbarian, awesome. Love that guy. Every incarnation of that guy was unbelievable. This team, man, it is a criminal offense that they were never given those WCW tag team belts. And I think I remember that they were actually on one of the WCW video games as the tag team champions, right? Because the plans were to make them champs, if I'm not mistaken. Then for whatever reason, it just ended up not happening in real life. But on one of those games, they're the tag champs, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. I think you're right. I'm not sure which one it is, but I think you are right.
I mean, these are 2 guys that were just presented as being, out of control. They're just looking to hurt somebody. I mean, what's not to love about that, right? I mean, that the match that I watched even last night again, the Nitro match, the February 24th Nitro match. I can't remember what year it was now, but it's versus Jericho and Eddie. I mean,
oh my God,
there's just nothing. I can't even put words to it, man. Jericho and Eddie are so unbelievably talented, and they're in there just bumping their ass off for these guys, man. It's just what a fun thing to watch. Just Jericho throwing himself all over the ring. It was awesome. It was so much fun to watch that.
Inject that match into my veins.
Oh, it was great. It was
every single day.
Way better than I even expected. It was unbelievable.
I am a little jealous that I kept the Faces of Fear off my list, but they are an honorable mention on my list. And the Faces of Fear are so awesome. And it is a travesty that they didn't get those belts.
Yeah, I agree totally.
All right. Number 2, I have another WCW tag team. I have the Outsiders. And, when the Outsiders are arguably the most important tag team of the 90s. They spurned the whole war that happened between WWE and WCW. It's Razor and Nash, and they left WWF to go to WCW. They did the whole invasion. They were obviously the Outsiders coming in to take over WCW, and they've completely revolutionized the business and like the actual business part of the actual business with contracts, like getting those guaranteed contracts and just putting on a lot of people probably won't agree with me, but this is a really deep cut. I watched a seminar. Somebody had filmed a seminar of Kevin Nash, and he was talking about their ring psychology of the Outsiders and what him and Razor used to do in matches. And they basically would just try to cut everybody off and work one side of the ring and keep them always in the same corner, because how do you tag in somebody else if you can never get to them? And so they did a lot of corner work, and I never really, until he said that, it didn't click with me. But when he said that was really smart. And I'm an enormous Kevin Nash fan. I love Kevin Nash. A lot of people have a lot of heat with Kevin Nash in the business, but I think Kevin Nash is awesome. And it didn't always translate to great in-ring product, but I think those 2 are some of the most important people of the wrestling business of all time. And I would love to put them at number 1, but I just can't. They gotta be, just for me, they have to be they gotta be at number 2.
I mean, I can't say anything more than what you just said. I mean, like I said, man, I'm a big Bret Hart fan, and I know that obviously those guys are Shawn Michaels guys and whatnot, but I mean, just going back and watching those matches with Nash, I think Nash is pretty good. And I know he gets a lot of grief about not doing a lot of different stuff in the ring. I think the guy's great for what he is, man. I mean, you gotta step back sometimes. You gotta look at kind of what it is, and people play to their strengths. It's just like it would be if we were coaching an offense, right? You don't run a double wing if you've got a QB that can throw the ball 70 times a game, right? You throw the football. That's what it is. So if you're Kevin Nash and you're a big guy that doesn't really know what the hell he's doing in the ring, which he didn't know for a long time, he did the moves he did, and he was great at it. And I don't really get all the criticism, because you gotta kind of separate what happens in the back versus what happens on screen a little bit sometimes. And I know, Nash booked himself to win and Goldberg and all that crap. I get all that, man. But at the same time, it's like the guy was a big dude who sold a lot of merchandise. Everybody loved him, women included. I mean, what is not to appreciate about that guy?
I know, like literally, still got it today. Like he was in Magic Mike. Like he was in he had the movie star factor because he was in The Longest Yard too. Like he's been in several movies. Like he expands well outside of the wrestling constraints, and huge star. I would agree that you have to look past the backstage stuff. You can't hold that against him. And obviously, it's the boys. Like we could get into a whole topic of that, of the boys policing the boys, but
look at what Hogan's done to people's career. I mean, and people loved Hogan all those years. I mean, obviously stuff's come out now about him, making inappropriate comments and stuff like that about people. But the thing is, I mean, how many people did Hogan bury? How many careers did he kill?
Endless. It's endless.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't understand the Kevin Nash. I absolutely love Kevin Nash so much. I have a man crush on Kevin Nash. With that being said, who do you have at number 2?
Okay, well, we're going to Graceland with this one, baby. So we're going right to Rhythm and Blues for number 2. Okay, so I'm gonna shoot. I'm just gonna shoot. I don't care how much Greg Valentine hated this. Valentine is a miserable son of a bitch. The dude is so mean. He hates ice cream. This guy has walked out several times on promoters. This matchup was so good for Greg the Hammer Valentine, and just not smart enough to understand it, man. I mean, I think I heard one time that Valentine was pissed off about not knowing how to play the guitar. I mean, bro, look, I got news for you, man. I don't want you to know how to play the guitar. I don't want you to know how to play it. I want you to fake it. And I want you to fake it as poorly as possible, and then tell me how damn good you are at it. Like, that's what I want to see. And I don't think Valentine ever fully understood, even all those years that he was in the WWF. And look, I'm just talking about listening to him on documentaries, podcasts, exposés, whatever you want to call them. I don't know if that guy ever really understood what the WWF was about at that time. And it's a real shame, because what's even worse about that is, bro, look across the ring at who your tag team partner is. How did you not get what it was that we were trying to put over? Honky Tonk Man is the epitome of what the WWF was trying to do in the 80s. You still didn't get it. You just didn't get it. I mean, look, this is just a phenomenal pairing of two talented guys. You got Dallas Page driving the damn car to the ring, which is pretty awesome. You got Jimmy Hart, another guy that is criminally underrated. I mean, what is not awesome about this, right? And I think too, we never got that Hasbro of Greg Valentine with the black hair. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that one of the smaller studios is going to put that out right now, and then that is definitely going to be purchased on my end, that's for sure. But I think in terms of a match to watch, I mean, the WrestleMania 5 match versus the Hart Foundation is good. It's really good. I mean, that's kind of pre Rhythm and Blues, but it's still honky in Valentine. So that's one to check out for sure.
I love your complete breakdown of that. That was incredible. I totally forgot that Page was the dude in the car driving the pink Cadillac down to the ring.
I mean, what a song too. I mean, we talked about the American Males theme song, but I mean, that song with Rhythm and Blues, I mean, that honka honka honky love. I mean, how great is that? I mean, look, I don't care about you not playing the guitar, man. I mean, look, just go out there and act like you're playing it, and then tell me how good you are. That's what I want.
You know what? We should do a top 10 on theme songs.
We should do a top 10 on guitar players in the wrestling. I mean,
does Tanahashi make it on that list?
Oh yeah, dude, no doubt. We're putting Tana high. I mean, that's unbelievable. That dude, yeah, for sure.
All right. Yeah, Rhythm and Blues is a great choice. But it's that time. We are at number one. So my number one is Edge and Christian. And I know that you're not a huge lover of Edge, but I am. And this team, the 5 second pose, the actual just team itself, they were the Brood, and then they broke out of the Brood, and then they became, actually E&C, and they're awesome. They were in their feud with the Hardy Boys and the fucking Dudleys. Don't even get me started on the fucking Dudleys. But those three teams together made wrestling magic. And, I'll give you a match that's obviously outside of the 1990s, but that WrestleMania 2000 match is bonkers, absolute bonkers. A grade A match. And, one that would be in the 90s is the original TLC match that they had. And that match was absolutely great too. Completely changed tag team wrestling forever. And, they were the perfect yin to the Hardys yang. And, they're still doing it today, not together. Obviously, Christian's in AEW and Edge is still doing it on WWE, which I know that you, Mr. Andretti, can't stand. But, I love Edge and Christian. They were incredible promos. They did great backstage work, but they really backed it up in the ring.
I don't think that dude's getting in the Observer Hall of Fame. I really don't. I think that him coming back for this run now, man, I don't know if it did anything at all for his shot to get in there, man. I really don't. But obviously, Christian is really good. He's obviously, he's always been extremely talented. He's doing a great job right now too. But as a tag team, they were great. They were unbelievable. Absolutely super high. They should be. I'm not shocked at all that you have them number one on your list. So that definitely was, they were everything they did was great. Even the stuff with Gangrel was great. I loved them even then.
Arguably, both of them, the Brood and the Edge and Christian, two of the best theme songs of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Great theme songs. And yeah, I can't say enough. I will say that Edge, yes, he may not get into the Observer Hall of Fame, and that might just be, because of those internet marks, but I don't know. It didn't hurt. It didn't help. I mean, with that, 97-hour long match that him and Randy Orton had at that WrestleMania. But, and we really are not big lovers of Beth Phoenix here, but he's still got time. He could turn it around. I got faith in it.
Okay.
Let's hear your number one. I'm ready.
All right, we're down to it here, and hey, it's booyah, baby! It's Paul Roma time again. It's the power and the glory. So hey, look, see, you didn't think I was good enough of a storyteller to call this all back to the slick spot at the top of the damn show, did you? I mean, look, that's just one of the many bright spots I bring to this podcast, man. I mean, Allison's sure not doing that. She's not carrying that mantle, that's for sure. But this is neither's Trigger Trey with the Dolphin stock either. But hey, this is absolutely my favorite tag team from the 90s, man. I mean, look at these guys. I mean, look at those sunglasses. I mean, they look like the greatest 90s dudes of all time. You look, man, they're just awesome, man. I bet those guys were just slaying rats all over the world. Hercules just snagging them with the chain, and Pretty Paul just making sweet Italian love to all the rats. I mean, there's nothing involving Slick that isn't the greatest thing of all time, right? I mean, this combo here of the three of them is just so awesome, dude. You got the strongest guy in the world, another guy who was totally underrated, right? And you got this agile, good-looking dude. I mean, look, that Paul Roma's so good, dude. I mean, let me tell you a quick story about that Mania 7 match, the one where they took on LOD. I got into a legit argument with my buddy Josh and my buddy Paul at the time. We were in elementary school over that feud. And I was 100% convinced Power and Glory were going to totally destroy the Legion of Doom at WrestleMania. And when they got massacred, I was so pissed off, dude. I almost broke. I borrowed the VHS tape from somebody the day after the WrestleMania because I didn't get it. And I remember watching that that VHS tape. I was so mad after they got killed in that match. I don't think I watched the rest of Mania that night. But I mean, look, man, Vince, pass the torch, dude. The Legion of Doom are over the hill. Give it to the Power and the Glory, man. They're the tag team that should have taken off. I mean, the SummerSlam 90 opening match, they completely annihilate Marty Jannetty. They take Shawn Michaels out of the match early, proven once again that Paul Roma is way better than Shawn Michaels and everything in the world. And look, man, I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to it. Power and the Glory, they're the best team of the 90s. Another really good match of them. I mean, a year later, the SummerSlam 91 match, the trios match, the opening match is Power and Glory and the Warlord. I mean, dude, take my money, please Power and Glory and the Warlord. I mean, that is a fever dream for me when I was a kid. And they end up losing the Bulldog in Steamboat and Kerry Von Erich. But look, man, as a 10-year-old, I was all the way in on Power and Glory. I'm pretty sure I even made a homemade T-shirt with a red marker. I can't remember if I went with Power or Power or Glory on the front of the tee, man. But I mean, what a time to be alive watching those dudes.
I should have known. I should have known that it was going to be the Power and the Glory. I love it. I absolutely love your list. All right, so I'm going to run through my top 10 one last time. So at number 10, I have Marty Jannetty and the 1-2-3 Kid. Number 9, I got the American Males. Number 8, I have the Hollywood Blondes. 7, I have the Steiners. 6, Smoking Guns. 5, the Hardy Boys. 4, APA. 3, Dudes with Attitudes. 2, Outsiders, and number 1, I have Edge and Christian. Would you want to go over your 10 here?
I mean, yeah, that's a heck of a list for sure. So my number 10, I've got a tie. I had Stars and Stripes, Patriot, and Bagwell, and they were tied up with Furnace and LaFawn, the Can-Am Express. My number 9 was also a tie. I had the Impact Players, Justin Credible and Lance Storm, and they were tied with the Headbangers. Number 8, I also had a tie at number 8. So Owen Hart and Yokozuna tied up with the Heavenly Bodies, and that was the incarnation of Dr. Tom and Gigolo Jimmy. And then number 7, I had the Beverly Brothers. Again, Mike Enos, I love you, buddy. I hope you're hearing this. I hope you're doing well, man. number 6, Vicious and Delicious, Bagwell again, and Scott Flash Norton. Number 5, I had the Miracle Violence Connection, better known as Terry Bam Bam Gordy and Dr. Death Steve Williams. Number 4, Pretty Wonderful, Pretty Paul Roma and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Number 3, I had the Faces of Fear, Barbarian and Meng. Number 2, I had Rhythm and Blues. I don't care what Greg the Hammer Valentine thinks. Shut up, Valentine. You're an idiot. You should listen to me. That was a hell of a tag team, and you're a moron. So Greg the Hammer Valentine and Honky Tonk Man, it should have been a lot better than what they were. Valentine, you're an idiot. I hope you hear that. Number 1, I've got Power and Glory. Number 1, the Slickster, Hercules, Paul Roma. You can't go wrong with that, man.
You want to know what else you can't go wrong with? The fact that you created a slick custom during COVID.
Yes, I did. I absolutely did.
Love it.
As well as many others.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, that was our top 10. And what a list of 20 tag teams we threw together there.
Yeah,
I love it.
I had 3 extra, so we had 23.
Yes, 23. But yeah, so we don't want to kill. We are going to kill the punchline. We got the Halloween Super Show coming up, and we're going to be introducing someone new, a first timer here on the Podski. He's going to join us here on the Halloween Super Show, and
but he's a podcast veteran. That guy.
He is a podcast veteran. What can these people expect from the Halloween Super Show?
Well, I think we're still kind of working out the details, but it's going to be basically the 3 of us are going to come up with a list of some spooky wrestling things or some specifically Halloween type things with wrestling.
Love it. And do you have anything else you would like to plug before?
No, man. I appreciate it again. The show keeps getting better, man. It really does. I mean, even the Dolphin shows. I'm not even a Dolphins fan. I still enjoy listening to those podcasts. But it's always awesome to chop it up, with another Victory Pro fan, as you are. But I mean, look, I know you guys are doing the documentary thing too, you and Allison. But if you're looking for a documentary to review, I would check out on Netflix the Murder Among the Mormons is pretty interesting. So I would check that out.
You know what? I think we actually watched that one.
Okay.
Or I think we started it. I can't remember, but I feel like we at least started that one. But yeah, for sure.
Cool.
But yeah. Well, thank you for coming back onto the Podski. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. We got the Super Show, and we'll have another top 10 for you next month. And as always, thank you, Mr. Andretti.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody out there, don't be afraid to combine a fat burner with an energy. I mean, you can always go, you can go back right now and listen to another podcast right now after finishing up this one. That's how you start to really build strength.
Absolutely. You can do it from a chair, and then you can graduate to standing up.
That's how Arthur started all his workouts.
Yep. Maybe someday you can do the Black Crow.
Hey, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Brother. Got to give AZ Jarhead a huge shout out for coming on to the Podski again. Really enjoy doing these top 10s with him. And we're going to be doing that much more. We're probably going to be doing that once every month, except for whenever we do the Halloween Super Show. And you'll get more of Justin Andretti. And very, very excited for everything that we're doing here on the Podski. We surpassed our 500 downloads mark. We're on the way to 1K. So all of this would not be possible without all of you listeners out there. So thank you for listening. Continue to download, rate, review, and subscribe to the Podski on whatever device you're listening to, whatever service you're listening to. It really helps me out. I don't know how it helps me out, but it helps me out. Makes me feel good at least. So, but thank you for all of the support and the listens and all the feedback. We're constantly making efforts. It's getting better and better each week. We will be a polished product sometime down the road. But thank you, and make sure you're checking us out on Twitter at @the_Podski, on Instagram at @the_Podski, on Facebook as The Podski with John Baker. I'm posting every time we put an episode up. If you're not sure when there's going to be episodes up, if you don't find them in your feed automatically, they will be for sure posted on there. I post them as soon as we go live. So hopefully you're checking that out. And thank you for listening to this week's episode. And we can't wait to see you on Sunday for another episode of That's So Dolphins Talk. And we will see you next week on the Podski.